believe this is a objection to referee's recommended order filed by Mr. Lambert. Mr. Lambert, you want to tell me what it is that you object to and why?
Well, it's like a 600% increase right off the bat, but also the biggest thing is it was filed a few years ago. We switched over to Florida, so I was making payments in Florida, but because of the arrearage, she filed with the state attorney general, and I'm still on probation trying to get that paid off. An increase of to $1,600 a month, and in fact, it said it went back to March, so I owed like another $4,000 to get that paid off by the end of this month. That jumped up to $8,000. She did say we were supposed to have that referee hearing back in February, I believe it was. And when we went to that, she was present with that, and she was in agreement to have a conversation about a lesser amount. But the referee at that time said that he didn't have time to hear us, and he said if I want to object to it, then I have to file again, which is what I'm doing now. So, I've got the paperwork here in front of me with the calculations, and looking at the end of the day, with what they're wanting me to give, and that puts her monthly adjusted income at $1,000 over mine. So, I've been doing what I can in the last few years to make more and more money to get this all covered, because I had 3 years to pay off, 20 something $1,000, which that's a different story. But, but every time I make more now I got to get hit with it. So I just, but the more I make, the farther behind I get on it.
All right, Mr. Lambert, simply saying that you disagree with the number doesn't give me a legal basis for determining that the number is wrong. What information or what documentation do you have that shows that the numbers used by the friend of the court were inaccurate or were wrong?
I guess I can't say that they're inaccurate or wrong, but if at the end of the day, it puts my income at $1,000 a month less than hers, that seems like there's a miscalculation somewhere. I don't know. I don't do the calculations. I don't know how it's done. But like I said, she was in agreement to having a conversation about it, and we weren't able to during the mediation, which is why we're here again today.
Well, the referee is not a mediator. That's not his job, and it's not his position to mediate and to determine whether or not the parties reach an agreement. And even if the parties reach an agreement, typically that's not a reason necessarily for changing the child support guidelines in the formula. So if you guys had an agreement, we could have looked at it and said, does that meet the guidelines, or is there a reason to depart from the guidelines? But you guys didn't reach it. So the referee is not required to conduct a mediation. So
under the guideline, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Under the guidelines of the state order with the probation, I'm not allowed to have contact with her. So I'm not allowed, I can't reach out to her and have a conversation.
I can't help that. I can't change that. So all I can tell you is the referee's not required to do what you're asking, which was mediate, which is give you a chance to negotiate with each other in court. That's not what he's there for. That's not the process. So having no mediation ability, unless the parties are able to, and it sounds like you can't for other reasons. The only other question before me is any of the information that the friend of the court used to arrive at these numbers, was it an inaccurate number or was it inappropriately used? And so far I've not heard anything other than you dislike the way it turned out. And I get that all the time, so I understand what you're saying, but I can't change that process unless there's an inaccurate number. The guidelines.
Sorry.
Let me just finish for just a second. The guidelines for the state of Michigan have been established by federal rule and by state rule. And it's gone through a vetting process, and the courts are told that we're required to use the process, that the guidelines, the computer program for that, unless there is a legitimate reason to depart from it, a legal reason to depart, not just I disagree with this increase or that sort of thing. So I've got to have a legitimate error, or I've got to have a reason to depart from what the law says I'm supposed to follow. So do you have any of those reasons?
I I don't know. I can't say that the calculation. I just think a 600% increase overnight. I mean, that's catastrophic. I just signed a new lease. I can't afford my bills at that. That leaves me under $4,000 a month to make my rent and my payments and provide for my house. It seems absurd to me that, you know, because I finally got to where I can make these payments and get this probation paid off, that now I'm going to get sent back. I mean, I'm you know, they gave me 3 felony counts. If I get it paid off, it's a misdemeanor count. I've got no avenue to pay that off. That's $1,600 a month. It just seems absurd. I mean, you know, just to make the adjustment while I'm still under the state probation and all that. But you know, that's supposed
I
to.
understand exactly what you're telling me, Mr. Lambert. I believe me, I do. But I don't see any legal basis for departing from what the guidelines requirements are, simply because it creates a hardship for one party or the other. The numbers of the income levels look appropriate to me that were used. I'm looking at the referee's the friend of the court's recommended dollar amounts. The deductions appear to be appropriate. They've given the proper net income. They've laid out all of the dollar amounts for the base support calculation, the healthcare allocations, ordinary medical, childcare expenses. All of that appears to be exactly the way that the program is designed to run. And that's why they do it that way. They lay it all out in detail. In case anybody has an objection, they can say, this is what we put down for this number. This is what we put down for that number. And as long as those dollar amounts are fed into the computer system correctly, I'm supposed to use what comes out of the computer system, because that's been vetted by the federal government and the state government as to that's how we want to run our child support system. Any other information that you want me to know?
No, I just, like I said, just looking at the calculation, I mean, that drops my monthly net down to 3,209 and hers up to 4,266. How do I live on 3,209? I mean, this is the first time in my life that I've made enough to cover this child support, which, you know, I've fought with this for years, and every time I've been told you need to make more money. Now I make more money, and I might as well go back to what I was doing a year ago. At the end of the day, I had more money in my pocket. I'm making $50 an hour now, minus $12 an hour in taxes and stuff, and taking now another $10, $11 an hour to give over to her. It leaves me nothing here. I've got the same requirements here. You know, I just, it just, the calculations, I don't know. I guess, I mean, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I just, I mean, why, I don't understand why the system is designed to just keep kicking me down.
It leaves you 38 grand after your child support is what it leaves you. Are you telling me you can't survive on that? 38 grand a year?
Well, I mean, rent is 24,000 a year. I've got 2 kids. I've got 11-year-old twins here.
Why are you paying $2,000 a month for your rent?
Because that's what it costs.
Where you live?
Punta Gorda, Florida. Been here for 11 years.
There has got to be a cheaper place to live than that.
If I would like to move into a trailer house in Arcadia, but Selena doesn't live in a trailer house out in Vanderbilt. So, I mean, it's just, that's not a fair assessment. I'm paying less now in rent than I was 3 years ago.
You're the one who chose to live in Punta Gorda. I can't change. You're asking me to change numbers based on your decision about where to live and what to spend your money on.
How much is rent in Gaylord, Michigan?
I live in a 3,000 square foot house, and I pay $1,200 a month to the bank for my mortgage.
That's a mortgage, sir. I can't get a mortgage because I have X amount in child support and my income's not there.
I'm just telling you, I live in a very nice house in a very nice subdivision because I chose to live in Gaylord, Michigan.
That's a mortgage, you have the right to live. Rent.
You have the right to live wherever you want to live, but you made that choice. Nobody else did. So I'm not going to change child support because you decided to live in an expensive area.
Or, I mean, yeah, I don't. I guess I mean, I paid rent in Gaylord in 1998. It was $1,200. That was 20 years ago. I would assume it's gone up since then.
All I'm saying to you is you got 38 grand, spend it how you want, but you got 38 grand to live on. There's lots of families in the world that live on less.
And now she's got 60, so that's great.
Mr. Lambert, I get it that you don't like it, but I can't fix it just simply because you don't like it.
I'm trying to get state probation paid off, and I'm getting kicked. Like we can't even wait till the end of that. I don't understand this. It's absolutely absurd.
It's ongoing child support. Your children don't have less bills because you have more bills.
So she's got a 600% increase since this time last year.
She doesn't get any of it. She gets to pay the kids' bills. That's what it's for. It's not for her, it's for the kids. If you don't like that, that's too bad. That's the way the world works. Bring kids in, you bring kids into the world, you pay for them.
Okay, yes, I do. And I don't get to see them, and
then file a motion to see your kids for more parenting time. Nobody's stopping you from doing that.
Luann Dean fought her for years.
Your objection is denied. Thank you very much, sir. That's all for today.
Yeah, of course it is. Bye.
Have a good day.